All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Storm Talk. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. I hope you guys are doing well on this. It's Wednesday, right? Wednesday, yes, Wednesday morning out there. See your comments already flying. So as always, you guys can say hello. Hello, Viv. Good morning to you. Hello to Dan. Hope you're doing well as well. And Tyler, huge enhanced risk to the west area, but will they run out of steam before they get here? Yes, Tyler, that is something we're going to be looking at very closely as we head to the next few moments. Welcome to the conversation, guys. I will say something that it's a little odd for me today, and it doesn't really affect you, is that I forgot my earpiece. I think it's in my car, I think. So it doesn't really matter. I can't really hear you guys anyway, but it's weird that I can't hear some of the sounds sometimes the graphics or the system makes. So if you hear anything weird, and don't try to trick me, if you hear anything weird, let me know so I can catch it in time. Like if I turn my mic off by accident, you know the drill. Anyway, we do have a lot to cover. We have a lot. Yes, good point there, Mike. Several folks that are actually in spring break right now or heading to spring break. A lot of you will be escaping a lot of the weather drama that we do have coming our way here if you're staying in town, especially as we get into early next week. And as you're about to see, I really think early next week is much more of an impactful type of setup than really we will have Friday night. Okay, so let me get into this. I was waiting for the spammer. I was trying to stall for the spammer, and sure enough, found them. All right, they're so predictable. All right, got them out of the way. Bada bing, bada boom. What'd you say, Cheryl? A little frost on the pumpkin today. They're in Kaminsky. Yeah, we'll be taking a look at that here in just a second on the temperatures this morning. All right, let's start with the outlook, and we'll go into more detail on this coming up in a second. Obviously, now we're within range of the day 3, which is a slight for just about everyone. You only see a small little slither there in western areas of Breckenridge County of an enhanced. I'll show you the whole map here in a second, but still it's mainly Friday night we're talking about for our main impacts. Nice and quiet, by the way, until then. Really nice weather, actually, the next couple of days. All right, so to where we stand, there's a lot of sunshine, cold morning for sure. I saw frost everywhere when I walked out this morning. Now it says 35 in Louisville. We actually dropped to 34, so this was kind of in between and an update on the map. But a lot of you were roughly around or just below the freezing mark, several upper 20s. I wouldn't really say it was a hard freeze in many areas, but a light freeze, a lot of frost. You bet. That was the storyline for this morning. And we will do it again tomorrow morning as well, just FYI on that. All right, and then we'll see the much warmer trends come our way. All right, currently outside, we've warmed up dramatically, 39. We'll take it. 32 into Seymour, 38 in Paoli. But a decent amount of sun today, guys. There are some high clouds to the north. These will try to overspread the area this afternoon, especially north of 64. That would just create more of a hazy scenario. Outside, I still think it's going to be nice and pretty overall, which is good. All right, we get into a wider view, and again, I don't have enough daylight to really see the whole image, but to get the idea, there's a front to the north. This front's going to run out of gas, doesn't have a lot of moisture with it, so that's the reason why we're only going to get clouds out of this little guy as it moves on by the Ohio Valley and sinks to south and east later on tonight. Meanwhile, this is our storm for Friday. I didn't want to show the satellite, the visible anyway, because they really haven't had enough daylight to really show anything. But the center of it is about here. So this is all the eastern side of it, heading through California and Nevada all the way into southern areas of Idaho, which sadly they've been dealing with a lot here since the new year rain in. The severe risk really doesn't kick in, though, until that gets to the other side of the Rockies. So even for them, it's mainly heavy rain, snow. But once you get to the front range, then you start to develop the Gulf moisture gets pulled in. You start to develop some of the severe risk. And it's a low-end severe risk tomorrow late that develops across areas of the Red River Valley. Then we get to Friday. And this is when the system is maxed out. And this is a large area of an enhanced risk from Iowa, St. Louis, Western Kentucky, all the way into Memphis. And on the scale, you see this is about a level 3 out of 5. Now, this has been on the map since Sunday. So this is impressive that it's been holding. The biggest issue we've had is timing with it. And we know there's going to be 2 different ways this is likely to evolve. And you'll see this on the Futurecast coming up. With the low centered here into Iowa, you're going to get supercells that are going to form close to wherever that tail is, that spin. Now, there will also be a second area of showers and storms that'll be more into what we call a V-notch, if you will, of the flow that'll be aiming right along. If you had to draw a line roughly from, say, Little Rock right up to Evansville, Louisville, and Cincinnati. So there's a swirly queue of thunderstorms, supercells in Illinois, into Missouri, and then you've got an arcing band of severe weather that tries to form in Arkansas. Mainly becomes a training heavy rain issue, though, as it feeds up the Ohio River. Those are the 2 looks the radar will likely have as we head into Friday night. Now, you don't get a lot of activity on the northern piece here on the radar because the southern one acts as a shield, if you will, blocking a lot of the deeper moisture from being pulled into that low. If we didn't have this piece here into Arkansas and West Kentucky, there's no doubt this would probably be a high-risk scenario for Illinois all the way into Chicago. It'd be a nightmare for them because the shear is pretty much off the charts on this one, guys. But having said that, because there is not a ton of moisture being pulled into that northern piece, the radar is going to look pretty wicked because you're going to be able to see each individual cell as it pops on the radar. The supercells will really stand out. And it'll be somewhat linear, but individually, you really will stand out on the radar in Illinois Friday afternoon. Only issue I want to mention here with that round is whether or not some of these on the southern side could try to work their way into southern Indiana later on Friday night. If they can hold together and kind of curl to the east, that's possible. Meanwhile, the other issue that the main one too we'll be watching is what will happen in Arkansas and how will that feed northeast along the Ohio River, because it will be running into the darkness of night, less fuel, still a lot of wind shear. In fact, the wind shear enhances because the jet gets stronger at night. So it's a balancing act. A lot of wind, not enough fuel. We don't want to see the fuel come up because the wind part's not going to change. If they increase the fuel, you'll end up with a really bad scenario with damaging winds and get tornadoes, all that kind of setup. Otherwise, typically, and you get into the darkness of night and further east, like the system will have, you begin to reduce the fuel, but you keep the wind shear high. And we tend to do fairly well in those scenarios. You can get some high wind reports, but it usually accelerates the line, gets it in and out of here fairly quick, and it cuts down on a more, I guess, substantial tornado threat that a lot of you would be thinking of for the overnight idea. But still, you can get a lot of straight line wind potential out of it. So still a lot of questions on it. What has changed today is that we're now getting some of our higher res modeling. They can see this event, and they are really starting to lock in a little more on the idea that the damaging wind, straight line wind threat especially, is something we'll have to watch, especially along and west of I-65. So Tawana got the alert out this morning. Alert day is out now for this event since confidence has grown on that idea for later Friday night. So let me walk you through this. And here's a close-up map. Again, the enhanced technically is not anybody in wave country. And at the moment, unless it really dramatically speeds up, I don't see that changing because it's just all about spatially looking at the system and timing. It's going to run out of gas. But when storms get going with forward momentum, it takes a little while to slow them down, right? So it's, again, like I mentioned, like a car going down a hill, it takes a little while to ease back down without hitting the brakes there. So let me show you one of our in-house models. And I really think this one actually is doing fairly well on this scenario. But It's showing the quiet weather today. So, yeah, we got that. Yeah, beautiful weather. I don't want to discount it because you need to enjoy it. There's the freezing line tomorrow morning. Again, roughly in our area. Another frosty morning tomorrow. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous tomorrow. If you need to mow the grass, if you want to brave the allergies, go ahead and do it. Good time to do it. Because then we get into Friday morning. Now, this is the warm front, warm push of air kicking in Friday morning. These are what we call elevated thunderstorms. They tend to, they can be loud. You can get a lot of lightning with these. This will make for rainy conditions for the morning drive on Friday. You tend to, with elevated convection like this, the cells are stronger at the end of the batch of rain, not at the beginning. So you end up with a lighter rain, and then at the very end of that, you get into some heavier rain. And sometimes you can get even some hail that can form on some of these. Usually it's not very large, but it can certainly develop. And then it moves out of here, and we get into more of an off and on scenario for the rest of the daytime period on Friday. So if you're worried about severe weather when you go to work or school on Friday morning, we're not seeing that threat. Even during the day, I don't see much happening. I think it's going to be active at times in the radar. There's going to be clusters of showers and storms, maybe a bit noisy at times, heavy rain spots, but we will not be into the danger zone really until the evening hours. Now, you already start to see at 4 p.m. where we're getting the first signs of the two ideas happening on how the storms will blow up. There's the batch there into areas of Illinois and Missouri trying to form, and here comes the batch in Arkansas. Now, keep an eye on both of those. As I advance it, you'll really will start to see how the two areas combine. Again, you're not going to see a lot of green, a lot of filling in on the radar up here because it's being blocked by these storms to the south. But again, these will be intense. I would suspect almost every single one of those in Illinois will have a warning on them with hail and a tornado threat. This is a little more problematic for our area because the modeling can still be off on where this forms on its angle of attack. It could move in Illinois into Indiana. It could move a little more south and end up more into Tennessee, which would reduce our severe threat and keep it into southern Kentucky. So how this evolves, and because it's going to move northeast, is going to be crucial in how we end up into a severe risk or not. At the moment, I think a timing of 8 p.m. Friday night through about 2 a.m. Saturday morning looks to be the window now. We were able to tighten it down just a bit more, but I'm thinking around 8 p.m. Friday night to 2 a.m. Saturday morning. That's when we'll have the risk. If there's anything damaging that can come out of this, especially damaging storms, it would come from the southwest, and it would also try to be a little sneaky with some of these cells that may try to hold together, that may graze, say, Jackson, Jennings County during the overnight hours. So I don't want to discount you guys to the north. Be aware of that sneaky little, we call these tail-end Charlies, that could form in the very bottom of that line. It is possible. Otherwise, we'll just have to see how this mess evolves. It's not a guarantee that we're going to get severe weather out of that, especially if it aims more into Tennessee. We'll miss this altogether. So there is, again, I hate using the phrase bust potential and this severe potential overall, but given the wind fields are so strong, it won't take much. It won't take much at all in fuel to produce damaging winds out of this. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of it. And even thunderstorms aside, it is going to be quite windy, as you'll see in a second, Friday night into Saturday. I like everything is trying to kind of congeal a little more on the timing. You know, before it looked like it was going to be like 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Friday night and Saturday morning. Now it looks more like 8 p.m. to about 2 a.m. That's good. Hopefully it doesn't keep folks up too late, because I know a lot of you, especially for light sleepers and anxious about storms, I understand that. You won't be able to relax till it moves on by. It does move out of the area. The one thing that I think is worth mentioning is that the wind field, hold on one second, let me get to that. The wind field is going to be strong in general Friday night into Saturday. So even if you are not getting lightning and thunder outside or even severe weather warnings, it is going to be windy out there. And so it may sound a little eerie at times outside just because of the strong winds. The wind, by the way, will ramp up during the day on Friday. So far, everything I'm looking at, they're likely going to issue wind advisories for much of the area, if not all the area, for Friday into Saturday morning. I think parts of Indiana and Ohio out of our area probably will go to a high wind watch the way it's looking, but I think our counties will probably wind advisory. Yet again, another wind advisory coming our way. And it's going to stay windy through Friday night. The strongest of the winds will actually be roughly 4 a.m. Saturday morning to about 8 or 9 a.m. Sunday or Saturday. In many cases, it's going to be when the rain ends. That's when the strongest of the wind will actually take place. So if you're getting up early on Saturday morning, like 6 a.m. to get your day started, you will likely be dealing with some of the stronger wind gusts that could get up to 50 miles per hour. So it's going to get your attention. But I mean, we had that similarly to last Saturday, right? It was a windy setup. So strong winds again on Saturday, and then we're done. Then we're quiet. We have to enjoy the rest of the weekend. The wind's not going to last all day on Saturday, by the way. It will relax fairly quick, and maybe even some frost again Sunday morning. Then our break is short-lived. First off, before I move on to the other setup, is everybody cool, understand the scenario on Friday? Type 22, if you're good on the setup for Friday night, type 22. Chris, Cape Friday evening, roughly about 150 to maybe 200 joules. So that's not very high. A little bit closer to 300 in western areas of Kentucky, just FYI. I hope that answered your question. So it's not a lot of Cape. And we're still sort of in a cold season, but we're moving out of it, getting into the warmer spring season. So you do need a little more, in many cases, to produce a lot of severe weather. All right. Everyone looks good? A lot of 22s. A lot of 22s. All right. Good. Okay. So we get a chance to enjoy a weekend. That's good. Then we get into Monday, Tuesday, and part of Wednesday. Now, what really stands out here is this setup looks very much like a June or July scenario for us. It's going to be humid. We do have a front that is the main focal point Monday and a part of Tuesday, but with the front setting over the Ohio River Valley itself, that's leading to a very unstable setup. Now, Cape here, Chris, if you're paying attention, Cape there is getting closer to 1,600 to 2,000. So a lot more fuel to work with. Dew points are high, as you'll see. Very tropical environment. A lot of lightning with this scenario, and you can, because of the boundary being in the area, you can get into at least a tornado potential out of this kind of a setup and damaging winds, especially downburst winds. So again, very much a summer-like setup here, but that will start early. I mean, Monday, and because the boundary is still lingering into Tuesday, I still think we'll be dealing with strong showers and storms. Now, eventually, you see this system here that is going to roll in and end that threat. But when does that roll in? Some of the modeling says Tuesday night. Some wait until Wednesday night to bring it in. That's a good 24-hour difference. Right now, the gut feeling is this is going to be a little faster than what the modeling is showing, but we'll keep an eye on that. But that would bring the boundary through here at some point late Tuesday night into Wednesday. And as shown here, the GFS is much slower Wednesday. I think it's going to be a little earlier than that. Either way, we won't be out of the stormy pattern really until we get the front through here. If we end up in between the two areas in the warm sector here, we will just deal with pop-up showers and storms that could be locally damaging as far as damaging downburst winds, that kind of scenario. But anytime we're going to be near a front, which will be Monday and part of Tuesday, and then again around the cold front, late Tuesday or Wednesday, that's when you enhance the severe potential. So there's three different modes here we're watching, but you're not completely in the wood or out of the woods until the front clears the area. This is going to be a strong low pressure. Look at all that snow, quite a bit of snow, and that should clear the area. Storm Prediction Center already has an outlook for this one for Tuesday. I think Monday needs to be added just because of the front being in the area. Tuesday, certainly, maybe Wednesday, maybe, depending on the timing of the cold front. But I'm glad they at least put the outlook out because the numbers are coming in pretty high on the severe potential on this one. In fact, to me, it's much more staggering when it comes to the numbers on this potential than we'll have Friday night. This is the dew point. Yes, we have a dew point surge Friday night, but look how brief it is. It's a spike into the 60s, just in the small area Friday night after 8 p.m. to about 2 a.m. Saturday. That's the reason for why there is a severe potential is that spike. We get out of that spike and get into a drier setup for the weekend. Dew points drop. Then we get into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and look how we get up there into the 60s, close to 70, and we just hover. We don't really drop. That, of course, adds to the humid setup, thunderstorm setup, but it also keeps our overnight lows from dropping very much. That is what's going to likely kick a lot of ACs on next week, because if your house doesn't cool down very well, a low temperature of 68, yeah, it's going to be tough because it is going to be a much more of a humid scenario. Because of dew points being so much higher, then you run into much more of a higher Cape scenario, as we talked about. Now you're getting the spikes, especially each in the afternoon periods, the heating of the day. There's spike, 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 but they're all bunched together. This is Friday nights. Look at the difference. There's Friday nights, a little bloop, right there, Friday night. And then look at next week. Again, now we have some wind shear, but we have a lot more fuel. They're about evened out. You don't really want both of them to be high, but they're both being right at that level. We need to watch it. In fact, looking at the wind potential in general, the wind shear is higher Friday night. It's up there. But again, the Cape was way down here, so it wasn't as much Cape with it. But we do have wind shear roughly on this chart. I go with about 40. 40 knots is what I look at. 40 is right. Make sure I draw it right. Is roughly right through, oops, that's 50. 40 is right through here. So generally, this is the 40 line, and you can see there's a certainly potential to get around that mark along with the high dew points. So there's your technical talk to explain it's going to be stormy. Because of all that, this is what the 10-day looks like right now. And we'll let you know what adjustments we need to make. And I'm going to work on this still more for midday. But we have 3 alert days that are out. We have Friday night that we'll be watching for that window of strong storms. It's not going to last all night. That's good. It will be windy all night. We get the break overall for the weekend. Then we're going to get into a much more prime setup where we're going to constantly watch the radar Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday as well, which is going to it's going to keep us busy. Look at the high near 80 degrees, lows at 9 in the upper 60s. We do have a significant drop into the 50s with more wind coming our way after the system rolls on by. All right, there you go. Any questions on this? Dalton, going to Limburg. Next there, will it rain? Where's Limburg? I feel like a moron right now. Sorry. Let's see, Whitney, North Vernon, Indiana. Again, your same issue. Just watch those storms Friday night. We'll have to keep an eye on some of those that may sneak in across the northern side Friday night. Otherwise, I think North Vernon, your main issue is going to be some rain. This is wind, seriously. I know, exactly. Johnny, basement is just not dried. How much rain? I don't see a ton of rain Friday night. Right now, we're thinking about an inch and a quarter. It will depend, though, Johnny, on how that angle out of Arkansas feeds into the Ohio River. If it is a little more north, we could have several hours of heavy rainfall. That could skew the total. So watch the radar carefully Friday night to see how that angle looks. And then it'll work its way to the south and to the east. All right, guys, I got to get rolling and get ready for the midday show. Obviously, got a lot of graphics to update there. But as always, appreciate you guys watching and have a safe rest of your day. We'll have updates throughout the day today. Stay close to the Wave Weather app. As you can tell, we're going to be having several changes come our way over the next few days. Take care, and I'll see you guys coming up on the flip side.